Let's make my incredible wood oven restaurant-style pizza and pizza dough. Without the wood oven or the pizza stone, this dough is incredible. It's thin crust and it's charred on the bottom. It is so, so good. Let's get started. In a bowl, add a teaspoon of sugar, 1 package of active dry yeast, and 1.25 cups of warm water. Stir it together and let it foam up. Once it does, add 3 cups of all-purpose flour and half a teaspoon of salt to your counter or your stand mixer. If you're doing this on the counter, gradually add in your liquid and begin to mix, and then start kneading for 7 to 10 minutes until you have a nice soft dough. Oil it up a little, let it sit covered for an hour and a half until it has tripled in size. Punch it down once it has and separate it into 4 equal pieces and roll them out. You're going to have 4 individual size pizzas. Heat up a pan really well on the stove and add in your pizza. Add in your toppings of choice, and once it's charred on the bottom, transfer it onto a baking sheet with parchment paper. Pop it in the oven under broil. Keep an eye on it. Enjoy.
Are you craving pizza? Let me show you how to make the most delicious pizza in a pan. Ingredients: flour, yeast, salt, sugar, olive oil, and water. Make sure you add the flour, the yeast, and the sugar first and mix with some water very well before any of the other ingredients. Knead for at least 20 minutes in all directions to work the gluten in. Divide and let it rest for at least 4 to 6 hours. It's pizza time! Rub in some extra virgin olive oil. Get the classic puffy edge by pushing the air out. Get a non-stick pan that can go also in the oven. Oven grill at maximum temperature. Fresh mozzarella into strips. Peel tomatoes with some extra virgin olive oil. Salt. Crunch some basil in. Break with your hands, much better than blending. Add the tomato in the center and spread out. Cook at low flame for 5 to 7 minutes. Add the mozzarella and stick in for a few minutes. Just gorgeous. Look at that. Beautiful.
You have to try this homemade pizza hack. Grab a tortilla and add some tomato sauce. Sprinkle some cheese. Add a block of feta. I like ones that are super creamy. Add some spinach and bake until cheese has melted. Slice it up and enjoy.
Today we're making garlic butter and herb stuffed crust pizza. For the dough, we're using the recipe that's in most of my videos, but I went ahead and recorded it for this video as well. You want to start off with 2 cups of warm water, 2 tablespoons of yeast, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 2 cups of flour. Cover with a towel and let it rest for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, you want to add 3 more cups of flour, 3 tablespoons of dry milk. The dry milk is optional, by the way. 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/3 cup of olive oil. Knead your dough for 10 minutes and it's ready to use. Go ahead and flour your surface and add your dough. Cut 4 equal parts and create them into dough balls. I like to roll out my dough pretty thin. If you like your pizza to be thicker or fluffier, you don't have to roll it out as thin as I did. Add your rolled out dough to an oiled pizza pan. You want to leave about 1 inch of your dough hanging over the edge. Add your cheese sticks and cover with the extra inch of dough that we left on the edges. Here I have garlic and butter mixed together and I'm brushing that all over my dough. Adding a thin layer of sauce, you don't need a lot, as well as some shredded mozzarella. Don't pile on your cheese, you still want to see the sauce coming through. I added garlic and herb seasoning to the crust and baked at 400 for 10 minutes.
Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a 1-minute delicious and easy pizza from scratch. The dough is super easy. You just combine 1/3 cup of flour with 2 tablespoons of milk. Then just roll out your dough to about 1/4 inch thick. Then I'm going to cut them out into little circles. You can just leave it in the pizza dough form if you want. Then poke some holes in your dough. Then you can add any pizza sauce you want on top. I'm going to add some salt and some garlic powder. Then put them in the microwave for 40 seconds. Take them out and add some cheese on top. Then put them back in the microwave for 35 to 45 more seconds. Add some oregano and Parmesan cheese after. And this is your microwave pizza.
We can even eat pizza for weight loss. What I like to do is use some San Marzano tomatoes. I toss in a little bit of olive oil, some garlic, a bunch of basil, a little crushed red peppers, and go in with my canned tomatoes. I personally like to mash them up because I don't like the consistency of a chunky tomato. I'm using the ground beef with a lot less calories that only has 5% of fat. And for the other pizza, I'm gonna slice down a bunch of chicken tenders, saute them with my favorite seasoning blend. Moving on to the crust, I'm gonna be using a whole grain thin crust. Now compiling the pizza is very simple. We're gonna go in with a thin layer of pizza sauce on top of the crust. You could always go in with a low fat cheese, but I'm just using a regular cheese, a nice layer of the ground beef or the chicken, and whatever toppings that you prefer. I'm doing sliced jalapenos with the chicken, and I'm doing banana peppers with the beef. We follow that in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 minutes. This honestly looks so good. Now the results for listening to the Golden Balance are usually very rewarding. You want to slice that bad boy up, and then we have final product. And I told y'all folks, with the proper substitutions,
forget Domino's, we're making pizza sliders. Sandwich, Hawaiian sweet rolls,
Slice them through. Bottom goes in. First layer is sliced mozzarella. If you're gonna use a jarred sauce, use this. Spread it on. Boom. Sliced pepperoni. Spread it all over. Like that. Buy this. Now shred it all over. Like that. Crushed red pepper. Shake some. Pecorino Romano. Sprinkle. Top it. Stick of butter. Melt it. 1 clove of garlic. Minced tiny. Some parsley. Boom. Parsley. Garlic. Pecorino Romano. Oregano. Shake, shake, shake. Pepper. Mix it up. Pour it all over. 20 minutes total, 10 covered, 10 uncovered, bake at 350. Oh my gosh, you guys.
This is my take on a homemade pizza, quarter the price of Domino's, packed full of flavour. First for your dough, 500 grams of flour, 300 millilitres of warm water, a full pack of yeast, and a pinch of salt. Gradually add your water into your flour, mixing every time. Don't add it all at once. It will eventually stick together. Flour aboard and knead this dough. After you've kneaded it, back into your tub and cover with a damp cloth. Leave it for 1 hour. Now for your sauce. Don't be a stingy bastard on the quality of tomatoes. Get a good tin. Salt.
Let's make pizza. In your bowl, super warm water. Add your yeast and cover. Next we'll mix our dry. In a bowl, mix flour and salt. Then you stir it up. You mix the salt in with the flour so that it doesn't kill your yeast. After about 5 minutes, it'll look like this. Add olive oil, your flour mix, and turn it on stir. You can totally do this whole process by hand until it forms a dough. Flour your surface, plop down your dough, and knead. Until it looks about like this, and you can see it springs back a little. Spray. Place it in your bowl. Give it a quick flip so that way it's got oil all over it. Cover it and let it rise for an hour. Heat your oven to 450. After an hour, quick punch down. Form it into a ball, stretch it out onto here, like this. Melted butter all around the crust, garlic salt over the crust, and Parmesan all around. Marinara, spread it out like this, coat with cheese, and your toppings, I'm using pepperoni. Like this, a little more cheese for good measure, and bake for 14 to 15 minutes. And there you go.
This is the best pizza dough recipe, Roberta's pizza dough. It takes the cake, or it takes the pizza. So let's make it. 153 grams each of 00 and all-purpose flour, but I end up always using just all-purpose, and it is fine. 8 grams of fine sea salt as well, mix that, and then in another bowl, you need 2 grams active dry yeast, 4 grams extra virgin olive oil, and 200 to 220 grams of lukewarm water. Mix that into your flour, knead for a few minutes, rest for 15, and then knead for another, like 3-4 minutes. Put it on a floured surface, and then I cut it into 4/4 because I doubled the recipe, made some balls, covered it with a dampened towel for 4 hours, let them rise, and look how beautiful, and then just use them for whatever your heart desires.
Hi, I'm going to show you how to make pizza dough really fast. Come on, let's go. To 1 cup of warm water, I added 1 package of dry yeast and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Let it sit for 10 minutes to foam up. In a large bowl, prepare 2½ cups of flour, and I've already added my 1 teaspoon of salt. Set aside 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Oh, and I am doing this by hand because not everyone has a stand mixer. The yeast has proofed, and you're just going to add it to your flour mixture along with your 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You're going to mix your dough until it comes together in a ball. You're going to need some muscle for this. After about a minute, it should look like this. Turn your dough out onto the table, knead it for a couple minutes, then let it rest, covered under a tea towel. Now your dough is ready to make into pizza.